So we have a board which I've pieced together via lots of little bits. These coloured things are just so I can identify quite easily what corner is what. Oops. And then we have the main chip. So you can see here I have a camera. I have some global settings, so in there I am adjusting gravity to make it stronger. And then I have one input here for control, and you can see I'm wiring up out of here the left and right sticks, left and right, and this is left and right in local space. There's another one which is non-local, not really sure what that does, but I'm using the local one. And then I'm going in for each signal that comes out of the each signal that comes out of one of the sticks. You can see there's two wires bound together, and that's called a fat wire. That lets you send multiple values along one wire. So what you need to do to get those into their individual components, quite magically, you've got a splitter, and that literally takes something in and then gives you the possible outputs. So in this case, because there's two wires, it's X and Y. So then what I'm doing from there, just doing a bit of logic to see if it's on, and I'm then basically setting a variable with it, and that's my tilt variable. You can see there you have to use a separate widget to set the variable, which is quite weird, but whatever. So for example, this is adding to the variable continuously with whatever is receives on there. That's a non-zero. So it's the same here for the other axis, the right stick splitting, doing some logic, passing it into the variable, and then there's another variable thing here, but this one is to get the value, and then so basically the two axes eventually have this value piped in through, something fell down, piped into here, which is my custom logic chip. And you can see again here we've got the two axes, and what we're doing, we're basically taking a value from 0 on X and Z, those are the different axes. We take a value, the range of 0 to 1, and then we do some logic, basically, sorry, we take a value from -1 to 1, because that's the range of a tilt stick, and then we do some logic to convert it into a value of 0 to 1, and then pump it into another chip, which is here. And this chip is a little thing I designed. It takes a value of 0 to 1 and then splits it into two halves. That being, if it's in the range of 0 to 0.5, it splits that and turns that into 0 to 1. And the same for this. If it's on, this is the second track of it, this is if it's greater than 0.5, then split it into 1. Otherwise, if the conditions aren't met, then these come as 0. So basically what that means is we're getting we're getting a value of 0 to 1 depending on what sort of part of this value coming in is at. And that means we can split the up and down motions, which on the basically it's all a thing of conversion. So on the analog, up, remember, is 1, down is -1, I think, and because of that we need to sort of split that into two different multipliers. So anyway, and then so that puts it again, the thing I was saying before about the fat wires. I'm then taking, so the up, these are the left and right. The left, the right, the up, the down. Those are the different 0 to 1 ranges I've now, through all this gubbins, calculated, and now I'm combining them into a massive fat wire, and you can see there's 4 colours braided, which is pretty cool looking. So that chip then outputs the Tiltron 2000, outputs the fat wire. Again, there's the braided colours, which looks really cool. And then let's open up the tilt board. So this is the reason I've done it this way, is so I could create a different mechanism in a different chip and then just pick the one I want to use. So if I want to tweak the control, I can just create another one of these. So what one of these does, it receives a fat wire, splits it into 4, and then depending on, because remember each of these is 0 to 1.0, so depending on that value, it pumps that power value into one of these, and these are keyframes. So the amount of power you pump into one of these widgets in Dreams indicates how powerful generally the effect of whatever that widget does. So these have been positioned as up, right, down, left, and these are keyframes which I've animated the board on. So if I just for demonstration, I can select one, and you can see I'm animating on one of those keyframes the range that I want it to go for that direction. So all I've had to do for that is plop a keyframe into the scene, move things, tweak the things I want to be included in that keyframe, and then finish that action. So that gets saved. Everything you do gets saved into a keyframe, and then when you apply the keyframe, it tries to blend the different keyframes together. So for example, up, down, but if I blend both of those together, it equals out. But the awesomeness is I can now also blend right and also left. So we get a full range of motion, which is pretty cool. So in action, if I play it, you can see here left, right, left, right. I can get a full motion tilt maze. So it might seem a long way to go about it. Why don't I just rotate the axis of the board? Well, that's a good question, but the keyframe has built-in range handling, blending. It's just easier. You don't have to do any logic because you just save the keyframe and you're just powering that keyframe on based on the amount you want, which is kind of, oh, I've fallen and I cannot get up, which is kind of backwards for programming, but it's also very efficient.